Just toys.
Argos sponsors Coronation Street.
Forced out by the party he brought to power, and as Sir Keir Starmer resigns, Andy Burnham confirms, you guessed it, he wants the job.
They're going to charge you with this.
Amanda Taylor had been researching her book on the murders of Judith Donnelly and Susan Mead.
My book will expose the truth.
I am doing everything I can.
Cape Rock Killer, available now on ITVX.
Oh, happy days. I've actually tipped Spain to win this World Cup. I don't like blowing my own trumpet.
Who you were was a myth. Who you were was Citadel. A spy agency loyal to no nation. They were double-crossed by one of our own. And now, I need your help.
What's going on here?
It's the only way.
Are you ready?
Citadel, available now on ITVX.
Now, with all the stories making the headlines now this Monday night, it's the ITV News at 10.
It was a day of raw emotion here in Downing Street. 2 years after he won a huge majority, Keir Starmer's voice cracked as he accepted his party no longer wanted him, watched by his tearful wife.
Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife Vic, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children.
Shortly afterwards, the so-called King of the North, who wasn't even an MP at the last election and has absolutely no mandate from any of us save the people of Makerfield, came south to claim his crown.
We now come to Andy Burnham, member for Makerfield.
Yes, that really was an opposition MP quoting Monty Python's Life of Brian. He's not the Messiah, and getting a smile from the man in question. It is hard to know, honestly, where to start tonight. We're going to get our 7th Prime Minister in 10 years. There may not even be a contest. We have virtually no idea what Andy Burnham will really do in power, and his plans, such as they are, have barely been tested. We will do our best to make sense of it for you. Also, on News at 10. Should there be a contest, the argument rages in the party tonight. Burnham economics. Assuming he wins, can he finally get our moribund economy moving again? It's unprecedented. Much of the country swelters in a brutal heatwave, and what is wrong with us? Why do we suddenly change our leaders more often than Italy, once the butt of many jokes in the democratic world?
From Downing Street, this is ITV News at 10 with Tom Bradby.
Good evening from Downing Street again, where the famous address behind me is getting ready to welcome its 7th Prime Minister in a decade. The process of deciding who that will be was triggered this morning after Sir Keir Starmer, at times barely able to contain his emotions, emerged from number 10 into the bright sunshine to announce his resignation as Labour's leader. His successor will be found by September, but you'd be hard pushed to find anyone around here who'd bet against that being Andy Burnham, and possibly quite quickly too. On a day of tumultuous upheaval, Mr Burnham was today sworn in as the new Labour MP for Makerfield. In his farewell speech, Sir Keir pointedly listed the achievements he claimed as party leader and Prime Minister. Yet the history books will also remember him as the second shortest serving Labour Prime Minister. And behind that door tonight, he might be forgiven for thinking that the greatest political office in the land is, these days, something of a poisoned chalice.
It's become a painfully familiar bit of furniture, and it could only herald one thing. The lectern manoeuvred into position, the banks of cameras trained, as Britain's sixth Prime Minister since the Brexit referendum became the fifth to resign before their time was up. Keir Starmer first wanting to show it hadn't all been for nothing.
Look at what we've achieved in just 2 years. An economy that is stronger, growing faster than our peers. Wages rising faster than inflation in every single month since we came to power. Investment secured, infrastructure being built. An end to austerity, and 500,000 children being lifted out of poverty because of the choices that I made.
Then, watched by those MPs still loyal, he faced the writing on the wall.
The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party.
The personal cost of such a public decision, written on the face of his wife Victoria, and suddenly in the catch in his voice.
When I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
He had wanted, he had intended to fight on, but 4 years after Boris Johnson said the same, Keir Starmer has also bowed to the inevitable, leaving in a way he can never have imagined when he walked victorious up this street just 2 years ago.
His guiding compass has been to put the country first and to ensure that this next stage and phase is as orderly as possible. That is the measure of the man.
You were one of those backing the Prime Minister right to the end. Will you now back Andy Burnham?
Oh, look, I've been loyal to every leader of the Labour Party and every Prime Minister. I've been loyal to this one. I will be loyal to the next.
As for the man who wants to be next, Andy Burnham, so-called King of the North, made an almost regal procession southwards, his train tracked from Manchester to Euston, where he dodged waiting crowds and sped off in a cab, arriving in Westminster to be sworn in as Makerfield's latest MP.
We now come to Andy Burnham, member for Makerfield.
That clearly not the limit of his ambition.
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles.
Swearing fidelity and quoting Monty Python back at hecklers.
Naughty boy.
One hurdle passed, a second also fell when his biggest rival for leader, Wes Streeting, announced he would not be standing, writing, "We could spend the summer exaggerating small differences, or we can roll up our sleeves and help him to deliver the change our party and our country needs. That's the choice I'm making, and I hope that everyone else will back Andy too." The question now whether there'll be any leadership contest at all. The Conservative leader called for speed.
Well, what are we waiting for? There are critical decisions that need to be made, and the Prime Minister is setting out his farewell tour while Andy Burnham wants a summer holiday. It's really, really important that we ensure that the country is being governed.
Reform for another general election.
It'll be the 6th Prime Minister in 7 years. Whoever it is will not have had a mandate from the people. And if it happened to be the MP for Makerfield, Andy Burnham, he didn't even stand at the last election.
From America, President Trump gave his reaction to Keir Starmer's downfall.
I mean, I wish him well, but he's got two problems: energy and immigration and crime. But energy and immigration. He's a president of Colombia, and he's really hurt himself very, very badly.
Posing with around 200 Labour MPs this afternoon, including the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, the former Deputy Leader Angela Rayner and Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds, Andy Burnham was showing any potential rivals what they would have to beat, and showing Keir Starmer what he has lost, as the Prime Minister, comforted only by his wife, re-entered number 10, his home, his job, for not much longer. Romilly Weeks, News at 10.
Well, every time we change leaders without a general election, it causes controversy with claims the new Prime Minister has no mandate. That is our system, it's true. It's the MPs that have the mandate after all. But at least a new Prime Minister installed halfway through a parliament can usually claim to have been part of the shadow leadership team that pitched to the electorate, or at the very least one of its MPs. Aware all of this is a potential problem, the Labour Party is debating tonight whether they should subject Andy Burnham to some kind of contest.
Not every new Member of Parliament can get this many colleagues out for their first day selfies, but Labour MPs have had plenty of time to prepare for today.
I think we knew this was coming. The writing on the wall had been there for a while. It was obviously clear since the local election results that the Prime Minister had lost the confidence of the country, never mind the Parliamentary Labour Party, and I think he's made the right decision for the country this morning.
Although at the start of a sweltering week in Westminster, not all of them agree. You didn't want Keir Starmer to leave, did you?
I didn't want instability. I think the country has had a lot of instability already. I think Keir Starmer had delivered a lot from our manifesto. We were moving forward, so I just want that delivery to continue now.
Andy Burnham seems to have soaked up most of the support within the Parliamentary Labour Party, and his backers don't seem keen on a wider leadership race. Would you like to see Andy Burnham become Prime Minister without a contest?
I think he needs a couple of weeks to set out a policy programme and a platform, but I don't think the country would thank us to take all summer while the Labour Party sorts itself out.
Some on the left of the party do want a contest, but the rule requiring 81 nominations means they will struggle to field a candidate, and there are calls to change that rule.
Any prospective candidate should actually be answering questions around this as well. What will they be doing on party democracy? You know, the left of the Labour Party have been treated atrociously over years. I've got direct experiences of that treatment as well. And I think that these questions need to be part of a wide contest.
Nominations for candidates to replace Keir Starmer open on the 9th of July and close a week later. If no one else is up for it, then Andy Burnham could be Prime Minister as early as the 17th. All this is happening because Labour MPs have lost faith in a Prime Minister who they feel has lost touch with the country. So what difference do they think Burnham can make?
Better democratic processes so we arrive at a better place, and the ability to then articulate that well to the public in a way that connects their winning formulas.
That's enough to win an election, do you think?
I think it's enough to rebuild the trust that we've lost in the last 2 years.
Labour MPs have 3.5 weeks from tonight to decide whether Andy Burnham really is the answer to their problems, or whether they think his ideas need to be tested against another contender. Carl Dinnan, News at 10, Westminster.
In confirming immediately, and to no one's surprise, that he would indeed be standing for the Labour leadership, Andy Burnham spoke of the scale of the job ahead, healing a bruised and divided party for a start, but also the huge task of injecting some life and growth finally into Britain's sluggish economy. Paul has been looking into what he has signalled he could and possibly would do. Paul.
Yeah, Tom, Andy Burnham could be Prime Minister within less than a month, and yet we don't know in any detail what he'd actually do differently. His opponents quip that his policy positions have a habit of changing, but these are some of his clearest stances. Perhaps this his most defining pledge, taking services back under public control. It's what he did with the Bee bus network in Manchester, for example, run by private companies but ultimately controlled by local government. He suggested doing similar for water, energy. Thames Water would be an obvious place to start. It's already at risk of going bust. And in a similar vein, he also wants more social housing, the biggest programme of building since World War II. But Andy Burnham has been repeatedly asked how he'd pay for these policies. At the start of the year, he said government shouldn't be in hock to the bond markets, but he's since said he would stick to the government's current borrowing rules. He's also said he won't break its pledge not to raise income tax, VAT, national insurance. Economists say none of this leaves him with a huge amount of room to do anything radical.
If the next Prime Minister wants to raise spending on any item to a significant degree and stick within the government's own fiscal rules, they'll need to either cut other spending or raise taxes. Raising taxes, while possible, is made harder by keeping to the previous manifesto commitment of not raising the main rates of the main taxes.
Well, there are some areas where Andy Burnham has shown an interest in reforming taxes, like social care, for example, arguing in the past to replace inheritance tax with a national care levy, which would cover the cost of looking after people, particularly in old age. He's also talked about bringing in a new land value tax that could replace stamp duty and council tax on homes. It would charge people an annual levy based on the value of their property. One thing we don't think Andy Burnham wants to radically change is the approach to immigration. It might even be that he keeps the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, in her job. He agrees with her approach to stopping small boat crossings and reducing immigration overall. Andy Burnham has promised change, but it will be tempered by the fact that he hasn't yet been given a mandate for it, at least not from the country at large. Tom.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. And let's join Robert, who is in his central London studio, as you can see, preparing for his programme tonight. Watching another broken Prime Minister sort of shuffle out of office, trying to contain his emotions. I don't know, it just felt sort of kind of tawdry, did it not? What did you make of that and what happens next?
Look, we've now had sort of 7 prime ministers in just over 10 years. That is if Burnham becomes prime minister at the end of July, which is what looks as though it's going to happen. And that is really bad for Britain, because those who invest in the country don't have stability when it comes to knowing what the economic outlook is, because every time you get a new prime minister, you get a new approach to managing the economy. Our partners overseas build up relationships with foreign secretaries and prime ministers, and then there's a new one, and that makes actually much harder to get the things we want to do internationally. I mean, there was a time when we boasted to the world that we had possibly the most stable, strongest political system. That's a sort of looks like a bad, our system now looks like a bit of a bad joke. So the question is, are Labour MPs in effectively sacking Keir Starmer, are they now at last going to provide some stability? And I have to say, I think there is a big risk here. You've just heard from Paul that actually, in terms of the big ways in which the economy and the country is going to be run, Burnham is still something of an unknown. There are these huge imponderables. And actually, one of the things I was looking at tonight in preparing the show is that one of the things Labour MPs don't seem to be aware of is that Keir Starmer actually, before the election, was way more respected by British people in many important respects than Burnham is now. And we've seen what's happened to Starmer's reputation. So it is altogether conceivable this goes very badly wrong for Labour. And one cabinet minister said to me earlier on today that the reason he wanted to keep Starmer was quite straightforwardly because once MPs get that taste for regicide, it's it becomes addictive. And he said, with Starmer going, he honestly believes there's a very good chance we'll see yet another coup before the general election.
I think all I've got to say to that is good Lord. But Robert, thank you very much indeed. Perhaps one of the factors that drove the move forcing out Sir Keir Starmer might have been that his message, his vision if you like, was simply not getting through to voters. Rock-solid Labour heartlands are among the places that have seen a recent surge in the polls for Reform UK, for instance. So I guess it made sense to ask voters in Labour strongholds what they are making of Sir Keir Starmer's resignation and of his potential successor.
On a Monday morning in West Yorkshire, residents in Ossett were waking to the news the Prime Minister's time was up. Have you heard the Prime Minister has resigned?
Oh, I say no, I hadn't heard. I haven't had the news on. I've been up really early baking this morning.
Have you heard that the Prime Minister has resigned?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
How do you feel about the Prime Minister going?
I wasn't right happy with him, to be honest. No.
At the Six Chimneys, there was agreement that the revolving door of Prime Ministers, 6 in a decade with a 7th on the way, had done little for stability. 6 Prime Ministers in 10 years, is that too many?
It's disgusting.
Why'd you say that?
Well, it's a showing up for England. Don't you think so?
You think it's embarrassing?
It is.
This is 6 Prime Ministers in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that too many?
I would have said so, yeah. It is. It is. But they're not strong enough, are they?
Who, therefore, would be a strong enough candidate?
Well, Andy Burnham.
A huge name in the north of England, less so elsewhere.
I don't know who is Andy Burnham.
Don't know much about the guy, but they've all so far have all been much the same.
He seems like a cheeky chappy, but I'm going to reserve my judgment on that.
A place he needs no introduction is Burnham Road in Leeds. What would he need to do for you to get your vote in the future?
Well, Keir Starmer always said he was for the working people, so it'd be nice to see maybe an increase in state pension.
Are you happy we now, as Prime Minister, may get somebody who nobody voted for?
I think I like Andy Burnham, so I don't think that's a problem.
Do you think we're on the brink of something more stable, something fresh?
I think we could do, but people don't give anyone time to do anything, do they? They've got to get in and do it instantly, and it's not that simple, because the world's in a mess, isn't it? Big style.
It is an electorate more choice-aware than ever. And they want to feel better connected, better represented, and ultimately better off. Rachel Townsend, News at 10.
One of the most significant unionist figures in Northern Ireland's politics of the past 2 decades is tonight facing a lengthy jail sentence. The former Democratic Unionist Party leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, was found guilty of 18 historical sex offences against 2 women when they were children.
From rubbing shoulders with royalty to being invited to a St Patrick's Day party by a US president, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson reached the highest political heights, even receiving a knighthood for his efforts from a future king. But more than 2 years on from his visit to the White House, he made his way to a courthouse, walking through its doors for the last time today as a free man. After deliberating in this courthouse for 10 hours, a jury of 7 men and 5 women found the former DUP leader guilty on every charge that he faced, all involving 2 women who were young children at the time of the abuse. His wife, Eleanor Donaldson, was found to have aided and abetted her husband's offending. Due to her mental health, she faced the trial of the facts and didn't have to attend the trial. However, she was found to have committed the acts that she was accused of. Throughout, both denied all wrongdoing.
Today, our thoughts are first and foremost with those innocent victims whose lives have been impacted and blighted by his predatory and repugnant behaviour.
One sexual abuse charity says it hopes the guilty verdicts will help other survivors in the future.
Really, we hope that this gives victims confidence in coming forward, that your story will be heard, that your lived experience will be validated, and that a justice outcome is possible.
Sir Geoffrey Donaldson stood with his hands clasped as each verdict was delivered, showing no emotion. Within minutes, the judge asked for him to be taken down. Tonight, a former political giant will spend his first night behind bars as a sex abuser. How long he'll spend there will be determined in September. Stuart Robson, News at 10, Newry Crown Court.
Red heat health alerts have been issued for parts of England and Wales for only the second time ever in the UK. Temperatures rising as high as 40 degrees Celsius could pose a risk to life for everyone. 2 red alerts are in force from Wednesday morning to Thursday evening. Many schools have taken the decision to close early.
Relief from the sweltering sun just a few hours into this heatwave. For many, it's a chance to enjoy the weather, but with a red alert on the horizon, there are warnings these temperatures will impact health and social care services.
Would you like to go outside for a little stroll before it gets too hot?
Yes, I would. That would
Yeah.
be nice.
This home supports residents with dementia and gives palliative care to some of the most vulnerable at risk this week.
Residents on a palliative care require extra attention from our staff, making sure that they are comfortable, making sure they are repositioned regularly so that pressure areas are well cared for.
How do you feel that Wednesday has now been upgraded to a red alert?
It is a concern, and we made sure that we planned ahead, making sure that everyone is informed about our expectancies, how we're going to keep this place as cool as possible through the heat wave.
Some schools closed today, while others tried to keep children cool in their classrooms as the heat wave hit.
Our buildings aren't really very well designed to deal with these kind of temperatures. So over the last few years in June and July, we do get up to, over 30 degrees in some of our classrooms.
This is the second red heat health warning issued for the UK. The first was 4 years ago. Today, the Met Office has forecast more extreme and dangerous weather conditions across the country as our climate continues to change. During the last heat wave in May, 15 people died after getting into trouble in the water.
Well, it couldn't look more appealing than on a day like today, but the UK Health Security Agency warns this weather could lead to an increased likelihood of cold water shock, with temperatures expected to rapidly rise over the next few days. What precautions are you taking on a day like today with this type of heat?
Stay hydrated and just make sure you've got sun cream on and things like that.
In a place like the UK, we kind of go crazy when it's hot and don't really think twice, but yeah, I think people should be safe.
So we all came at like 10:30 so that we could get in before it got really hot, and the whole shocking your body thing is quite scary.
As hot air moves in from Europe, tomorrow is forecast to be the warmest day of the year so far in what's expected to be a record-breaking week for the UK. Sangeeta Lal, News at 10.
OK, back now to our main story, the resignation of Sir Keir Starmer and the search for a new Labour leader and Prime Minister. It might be unkind, but also not that far from the uncomfortable truth to suggest they should think about installing a revolving door here at number 10. Are we then a nation of such deeply entrenched divisions that we are effectively now ungovernable?
A career in politics always ends in failure, so the saying goes.
The British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path.
But 6 resignation speeches,
to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
In a little less than 10 years,
even if things can sometimes seem dark now,
begs one big question.
I am resigning.
As party leader. Thank you very much.
Is this now an impossible job?
It's really difficult, but it is categorically not impossible. If they learnt more about how to do it, if they understood the limits of their own power, then they could do it really well. The failure is damaging the country at a very vulnerable time. This is serious.
There's the percentage swing to Labour, just under 4%.
For decades, Britain swung like a predictable pendulum, from right to left, back and forth through that famous door. But the two big parties no longer command that kind of mass support. A fragmentation compounded by Brexit, an economic stagnation, while every hitch and hiccup is exaggerated by the speed of social media. Perhaps the flaw is not entirely in our leaders, but in ourselves.
Has the country become ungovernable?
Has Britain become a basket case? No. I think the vast majority of Britons sit back in their armchairs, look at what's happening in politics and simply want better government. Simply want political leaders that understand the mood of the country better. And yes, absolutely, there are huge challenges, but that has always been the case.
Tonight, Andy Burnham, all-conquering King of the North, is in his palace at Westminster. But politics will find out any weakness. It may be the next lectern moment is closer than he thinks. John Ray, News at 10.
And that is about it for now from Downing Street after what was, on a human level, whatever your politics, a very strange day. A day of upheaval which began with Sir Keir Starmer seemingly close to tears as he set aside his resolve to fight on as party leader and PM. He robustly defended his record in office but said his decision to quit had been made with good grace in view of the party's mood. Almost immediately, the figure many see as waiting in the wings to succeed him, Andy Burnham, confirmed he would indeed be standing for the job, before then being sworn in as the new MP for Makerfield. But the question...
How do you do that? Obituaries.
If my purpose in life is to kill, I think I'll make some rules. Everything must be a mishap or suicide, an act of God or a sex act gone wrong.
Obituary. Available now on ITVX. There'll be some light cloud early on today, but by lunchtime it will almost certainly clear. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello again. Unprecedented humidity and record-breaking temperatures for parts of the UK over coming days, with the Met Office releasing a red warning for hot weather for Wednesday and Thursday for parts of England and Wales. Already amber in place over coming days and a muggy night ahead. Monday into Tuesday, we'll see temperatures in the south tropical levels, 20 or 21 degrees, with generally dry conditions for most places before dawn. And a very warm start to Tuesday across the board. It'll be a dry day, lots of sunshine, turning a little hazier later on, but temperatures will rise rapidly further south as hot air pushes up from the near continent. 36 or 37 Celsius for southern counties through the afternoon. Always a little fresher further north, but that hot air will extend further north over the next few days. It's very humid, uncomfortable for sleeping. Do take care and stay hydrated over coming days and nights.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Is it right for Labour or the country that Keir Starmer has been forced out, and what chance that Andy Burnham will be better? I'll ask the Cabinet Minister Doug Alexander, ex-Defence Minister Al Khams, who wants to lead Labour one day and reforms Layla Cunningham, after the news wherever you are.
Good evening, welcome to the news from UTV. Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, up until 2 years ago a leader of unionism, is now a disgraced child rapist. The 63-year-old has been found guilty of 18 child sex offences committed against 2 victims. His wife, Eleanor Donaldson, too ill to face a normal trial, was found to have committed the acts of aiding and abetting her husband's crimes. Sharon O'Neill reports.
D-Day for Geoffrey Donaldson. A man who once had the ear of prime ministers and presidents is about to find out his fate. The verdict, guilty on all counts, including the rape of a little girl. The 2 women he abused when they were children, now vindicated. The world now knows what they knew all along. The now disgraced MP hid a dark secret throughout his political career. The jury of 7 men and 5 women were sent out on Thursday at lunchtime. They returned this afternoon, deliberations over after 10 hours, their minds made up. Donaldson had denied all 18 charges against him, but jurors didn't buy his side of the story. The final act in a dramatic fall from grace delivered in the courtroom behind me. The former politician stood in the dock and simply looked at those who found him guilty. The foreman revealing the news Donaldson feared the most, that he committed terrible crimes against 2 children for more than 20 years, up until 2008. They were known as Complainant A and Complainant B to protect their identities. The 63-year-old was found guilty of 8 offences in relation to Complainant A, the youngest victim, including gross indecency and indecent assault. Giving evidence in court, she defended not coming forward to police until 2024. I knew this would be an extremely public affair involving media. It was a huge, huge decision. I am here to tell the truth, she said. Donaldson was convicted of 10 offences in relation to Complainant B. He raped her when she was still at primary school. This is what she told the court about her ordeal. I remember being really still. All I could hear was his breathing. Physically, I wanted to throw up. As for his wife, Lady Eleanor Donaldson, pictured at a previous hearing, she couldn't take part in proceedings. Due to her mental health, she faced a trial of the facts and denied 5 charges of aiding and abetting in her husband's crimes. A lawyer for the 60-year-old branded the allegations against her ludicrous. Today, the jury found she committed the acts. Complainant A told the court she reached out to Eleanor Donaldson about her husband, but she did not intervene. I knew by the look on her face she knew I was telling the truth, she said. Once she identified I was telling the truth, she did nothing about it.
I was very happy to see Northern Ireland's Executive Assembly reinstated last month.
Weeks before the couple's arrest, then American President Joe Biden was toasting the return of Northern Ireland's fragile power-sharing institutions. Jeffrey Donaldson was the man responsible for bringing the DUP back in, and he was soaking up every moment of the glory in the White House. But he couldn't ultimately outrun his past. That didn't stop him claiming in court when he took to the stand during week 2 of his trial that when he was arrested at 6 in the morning back in March 2024, he had no idea what was coming. Two years on, Jeffrey Donaldson left court in a prison van. He's now behind bars, remanded into custody. The judge warning him he faces a lengthy prison sentence.
That report from Sharon O'Neill. Despite being best known as a politician, today's verdict shows that there was a secret, more sinister side to Sir Jeffrey Donaldson. Paul Riley takes a look at the man whose public persona was at odds with the man behind closed doors.
From this Knight of the Realm, invested by Prince William inside the splendour of Buckingham Palace, to tonight facing a stark prison cell held at the pleasure of His Majesty the King. The fall from grace is spectacular. Sir Jeffrey Donaldson will from now be known simply by his prison number. What this trial has shown more than anything is that there were, as one witness in the trial said, 2 Jeffrey Donaldsons.
I don't know how he lived with that, because the enormous pressure of covering all of that up while being, as I say, one of the most influential, consequential unionist politicians of his generation, someone who was meeting presidents, the Taoiseach, the Prime Minister, someone who was dealing at the very highest levels of a peace process in Northern Ireland, one of the most important peace processes in the past 25 years. That the person who was doing that and all the pressure of that was also having an entirely different life, which he was trying to cover up and keep away from everyone.
The pious, devout Christian who for more than 20 years wore a fish badge on his lapel. He built an image as the prayerful politician. His official authorised biography is laced with references to an MP devoted to God. But the truth could not have been more different. The evidence given to his trial revealed a philandering politician having affairs at the same time as he was leading prayers. His wife Eleanor Donaldson was so convinced he had betrayed her again, she bugged his car. In the witness box, Donaldson admitted to having one affair with the divorcee in London in 2008. At the time, he was an MP, MLA, junior minister at Stormont and a councillor. He had also just been sworn in as a Privy Councillor, entitling him to be styled as the Right Honourable.
I remember just thinking, I didn't know this guy. And in one sense that worries you, because you think you start revisiting every conversation, you start revisiting everything he'd said and done and so on, and thinking, was that the truth? Was that affability the real person? Is this some sort of other thing? He didn't know, but it was just, it is one of those cases. It's just horrible.
But even more damningly, this trial has exposed the real Jeffrey Donaldson as a paedophile who had secretly abused young girls. In court, he was accused of telling sinful and deceitful lies. Reference was made to a letter written to one of his victims. In it, he used the phrase, "Lift a sinner out of the deep pit of sin," going on to talk about his sinful and selfish actions. Despite Donaldson's denials, the jury had the final say.
Paul Riley reporting. This afternoon, the DUP leader, Gavin Robinson, said Jeffrey Donaldson abused the trust of the party with his vile crimes.
He also stands guilty of abusing and betraying the trust placed in him by many people over many years, including good, honest colleagues in both our party and the Ulster Unionist Party, as well as the wider community.
In other news, political leaders at Stormont have been reacting to the news that Sir Keir Starmer will resign as Prime Minister. Sinn Féin Vice President Michelle O'Neill criticised the current government's track record, while the DUP leader, Gavin Robinson, has laid out what Northern Ireland needs from whoever replaces Sir Keir.
Whoever replaces Keir Starmer, I will work constructively with them. I will work to represent the needs and the interests of people here. And I'll make it very clear to them that the people here are not second-class citizens.
I suspect there will be an opportunity in the coming weeks to have discussions about Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, what Northern Ireland needs in terms of border security, what Northern Ireland needs in terms of a reset of relationships with the European Union.
Well, that was the news. The weather's next. Here's Louise.
After a wet start, weather predictions are looking bright. UTV Weather, sponsored by the Grant Vortex Boiler.
Hello there, good evening. Temperatures on the rise this week, with the peak of the temperatures expected on Thursday. But beforehand, we have some very mild and very muggy nights to come, with temperatures holding up in the mid to high teens in places, sunny spells and one or two very isolated showers by day. Taking a look at the pressure sequence, high pressure's moving off towards the east. That's allowing a southerly airflow, that air coming from the near continent, warming temperatures on the rise over the next few days. But we do have a few frontal systems bringing more in the way of cloud at times, becoming quite overcast through Wednesday. Tonight, though, it's largely dry. Due to the humidity, we have some mist and fog patches forming as we head towards dawn. Temperatures holding up between 13 and 17 degrees Celsius with light wind. So a very muggy start tomorrow morning, but we have plenty of sunshine to start the day. Into the afternoon, some patchy cloud may bubble up here and there, which could produce one or two very isolated sharp showers. You'd be very unlucky to catch those showers. Lengthy spells of sunshine and temperatures reaching highs of 26, possibly 27 degrees Celsius. The temperatures continue to rise as we head through this week, with highs of 26